you have this area of your child's life. They're going through so many changes, and you're building the most intimate relationship that you have up to this point by talking about things like stinky armpits. You already are working towards building this fantastic relationship with them so that no holds are barred on the conversations. Think of school as an opportunity to further that understanding of themselves and their independence in learning.
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am back with Cindy West from Our Journey Westward. And if you've not visited her website, go there. She has so much fun stuff on there. I absolutely love her unit studies and her nature studies. I guess you would call them nature studies, not some. Would you call them unit studies?
They're unit nature studies. Yeah, they're both. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's funny because I mentioned that the very first episode we ever did together was on game schooling. And then on yesterday's episode, you were talking about teaching our kids, like using logic curriculum. And I was thinking about that, like game schooling is one of those things that when our kids play games, they're learning logic in a lot of games because they're having to logically think through these things. And this is the perfect time to do that with your kids because as they're understanding logic and understanding how to ask themselves questions and then how to answer those questions and just how to logically think through things, playing games with them. And I'm not talking just playing like Candyland, that's a little bit beyond them. But there are some really great games you can play with your kids that will really help them to think logically through life. We've started playing Sequence. Have you played that game?
Oh, I love it. Yes.
It's such a fun game. We got it. I don't even know where we got it, yard sale or something. And we had it sitting in our cabinet for, I don't know, probably a year and a half. And we pulled it out a few months ago and started playing it for the first time ever. And we all love it. Like, this is such a fun game. And we love playing games anyway. But yeah, so I'll put a link to that episode, but that's just a fun thing to do. I think with middle school kids is to just play games because you can build relationships and they're learning logic and all those fun things. So anyway, before we get back into our conversation, we are going to talk about academics today. And so speaking of academics, have you tried BJU Press Homeschool? BJUPressHomeschool.com. If you're looking for a great Christian worldview homeschool curriculum, check them out at BJUPressHomeschool.com. And they really will equip you for a successful homeschool journey, and they'll walk with you every step of the way as you are learning to homeschool your kids. And so whatever method you use for homeschooling, if it's an independent learning style or a parent-led approach, whatever you're doing, they've got something for you and they will help you with homeschooling. So check them out, BJUPressHomeschool.com. Well, Cindy, man, this has been such a fun conversation this week. I really do love these middle school years and so many fun memories and silly things. My girls are just goofballs. Both of them are. And the things that they come up with sometimes, I'm just like, where in the world did you get that from? And who are you? And they just make us laugh. And sometimes, when you're trying to be like the serious parent and like, we have something serious to talk about, and then they'll say or do something funny. And it's hilarious. Our family Bible time oftentimes is the time of the day where our youngest, she just gets the giggles and we'll like not even be talking about anything funny. And she just will start giggling about something. And Garrett's like, Lacey, what are you even laughing at? She's like, something I thought about or funny joke or, it's just a fun age that we get to help walk our kids through. And so let's talk about academics because I know we can, I think, tend to think that, okay, now they're in middle school and it can't be fun anymore. Now we have to be serious about the academics and the education and stuff. And while, yes, we've talked so many times on this podcast about the importance of academics, but really, man, what matters so much more is their heart and their soul and their love for Jesus. I mean, that trumps everything. Yeah. It's relationship over reading, it's character over curriculum, and it's relationship with Jesus over all things. And so as we're walking through the academic years, that also switches big time when you go from elementary school into middle school. And now like, okay, we got to be serious about this. So walk us through that because you have a lot to say on the topic of academics in middle school.
Yeah. So if you listen to the last episode, we talked about the idea of logic being so important because it builds some brain muscles that help these kiddos as they're slowly walking towards independence in the world, to make good decisions. And it's because logic, we do that because they are finally ready to do that.
Yeah.
So generally, not always, but generally, by the time you get to the middle school years, you have good readers who are pretty decent at math, the basics of math.
Sure.
They have the foundations of writing down pretty well. And those are the 3 R's, right? We want to get that reading, writing, and arithmetic down. And so when they have that down and their logical mind starts kicking in, this is when the fun learning can actually happen. So, I think you're going to have multiple types of homeschoolers. Some who say, no, we starting in 6th grade, if we have been hands-on or whatever, starting in 6th grade, we get serious and we jump into the textbooks. And then you'll have people who say, no, I'm just going to make the middle school years an extension of what the elementary years have been. We're just going to dig deeper and go harder, and it's going to be awesome. And I don't think, and there's everything in between too, right? So I'm not here to tell you how to homeschool your middle school years, but I am here to challenge you that you can do a lot of really cool things that will make learning an enjoyable venture that goes really deep, that will be very memorable, and not just memorable and, oh, wasn't it great that we did this together, but memorable in, they get into high school and they're like, yeah, I understand that because the fun learning that we did.
Right.
This is the age when they're capable to start taking on some independence in learning and not only turning things over to them, but in some ways even deciding what they learn or how they learn. And you're going to say, how is that possible? Well, we could talk for an hour on the processes of this. But what I want to challenge folks to do is to say, yes, maybe we want to really be working on some textbook learning skills. Maybe we already have the plan for what the high school years are going to look like as far as a transcript is concerned. And we know we want to buff some of that up by doing some high school worthy classes in middle school.
Yeah.
But I want to challenge you that you have this area of your child's life. They're going through so many changes, and you're building the most intimate relationship that you have up to this point by talking about things like stinky armpits and, all of that. And you're starting to watch them begin this transition. It's a slow transition a lot of times towards adulthood. So you're thinking, okay, my role is changing. So that must mean school has to change too. And I'm going to start turning as much as I can over to them. But here's my challenge to you. You already are working towards building this fantastic relationship with them so that no holds are barred on the conversations about hormones and friends and all the things we've already talked about. Think of school as an opportunity to further that understanding of themselves and their independence in learning by allowing them to do some really cool things. So it kind of depends where you want to continue with this conversation, because I can give you some examples of what we did.
Sure.
Or how do you want me to continue talking about this?
Yes. No, I would love to talk about maybe some of the things that you did. One of the things I really want to talk about is that because they're going through this transition in these middle school years, I feel like, and I've seen this from my own kids and I've seen this from other people's kids, where this is where they're wanting to fight us on stuff.
Okay.
Like, okay, Mom, you're telling me that I need to do it this way, but I want to do it this other way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that eases up maybe a little bit. And I know that depends on the kid and their personality and character and all of that. But there's something about these middle school years where they're just like, no, I want to do it my way, not your way.
Yes.
Where I haven't seen that so much in the elementary years as strongly as middle. So yes, talk a little bit about what some of your experiences have been, but then I want to kind of switch over into like, how do we deal with the kid who wants to fight us on everything?
Oh, well, I think we can do both at the same time.
Okay.
Because
perfect.
if we think about the middle school years, what is the job of their hormones? The job of their hormones is to help them grow into that adult, to be the independent person they need to be.
Right.
So it should never surprise us that they are balking on some things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I chose some of the things that I did in middle school to be fun, to be serious, to allow some independence so that we could be building our relationship on one end. They could be asserting their independence on another end. And we could be walking towards what is the necessary seriousness of high school without the necessary seriousness of middle school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some people picture once we hit middle school, it is on.
Yeah.
You know, no more playing around.
Right.
We are now on this path. And that's okay. If that's the way you want to do it, I'm not telling you not to do it.
Sure.
But I am saying that I think you have until at least 8th, if not 9th grade, to maybe throw that seriousness axe down.
Mm-hmm.
And you have these years to play with a little bit. So what did that look like for us? It looked like some textbooks. It looked like some unit studies. It looked like some reading together. It looked like some independent reading. It looked like some choices that I said, we will read this, and some choices where they said, I would like to read this.
Yeah.
So I had the overall vision of what I knew we needed to learn. For instance, and you don't have to follow what I do, but I followed the 4-year cycle for science and history, which meant that every 4 years we were cycling through ancient history, creation and ancient history, medieval history, early modern history, late modern history. And then we did that 4 years. Every 4 years, we kind of went back through. So by the time we hit the middle school years, we were on our second time of that. And they really had retained a lot from elementary school, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would say, oh, I've got a great book. We're going to go through this book. And sometimes I would say, you know, how about we do a unit study? Let's dive into this through a unit study. Let's watch some videos. Let's go on some field trips. Let's read some books. Let's whatever. And sometimes I would say, you know what? You've already been through this once before. And I wouldn't turn the whole year over to them. I'm talking about a portion of it.
Yeah.
You've already been through this before. So I'm not going to reteach you. You are responsible for choosing an aspect of that you want to go dig into. And after a week, you're coming back and you're presenting everything that you understood.
Yeah.
And I want you to present it in a fun way, in a way that, you know, if someone is really into drama, do some kind of acting to present it. If someone's really into videography, create some kind of video too. So this is the time when you're starting to see their passions grow too.
Yeah.
And, you know, they want to experiment with this or they want to experiment with that. Well, if you will allow them a little bit of space in academics to experiment with those things, you might just find that prepares them for their adulthood.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. I'm going to give you 2.
Okay.
2 different kids. One loved horses, loved them. Well, guess what? In middle school, we took an entire unit study time. So I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks where we just learned about horses. I counted it towards the biology that we were learning that year. It fit into the theme of biology, but I allowed her to learn some of the things that I set out to learn, some of the things she wanted to learn. What field trip do you want to do? Why don't you call and see if you can set that field trip up for us? And then anytime, whether it was during that unit study or any time that a veterinarian showed up at our farm or a horseshoe person showed up, what do we call the horseshoe person? See, I'm not the farmer at our,
I don't know. You're talking to a city girl here.
I live on the farm and have for a long time. These people are yelling at me right now. I can hear it. The guy who puts horseshoes on. Anyway, I would always say, go. Put your books aside for a little bit. Go out. Go talk to that veterinarian. Go talk to the horseshoe guy.
Right.
If your pawpaw is out there working the horses, he's giving them necessary shots or whatever they needed. Go, take a break from school, come back in and finish.
Right.
So I didn't allow middle school to be so much pressure on the actual plan of the academics that we couldn't just play a little bit.
Right.
That I left room for play.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean there were textbooks done.
Sure.
And there were serious enough classes done that my 8th graders put some things on their high school transcript.
Yeah.
So we always started our 8th graders with usually pre-algebra in 7th grade and algebra 1 in 8th grade. Not all 3 of my children did that. But if they hit algebra 1 in 8th grade, that was a high school worthy class that went on the transcript.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was never serious. I just left room for all this wonderful changing and independence and passion and relationship. And this is the time that we really dug in hard on some of the Bible studies.
Yeah.
Because I gave myself extra time to do a lot of those things.
Yeah. Have you tried CTC Math yet with your child? Here's a testimonial from another happy homeschool mom. Amber said, "I'm absolutely thrilled with CTC Math. It's a rare find that I've used with my children for more than 5 years now. I have 6 children using CTC Math, and each child has found it easy to navigate and very applicable. Thank you so much for all that you are doing in providing quality math lessons for my children." If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com. That's ctcmath.com. Are you looking for a homeschool curriculum that goes beyond textbooks and truly engages your children in the joy of learning? Apologia's award-winning curriculum is written by homeschool parents to specifically meet your needs and captivate your students with hands-on activities and experiments that make learning unforgettable. With an easy-to-follow, open-and-go format, Apologia takes the stress out of planning and provides a simple roadmap that can easily be tailored to your family's needs. Explore live classes or self-paced courses designed to accommodate every student's unique learning style. Elevate your child's education, spark their curiosity, and nurture a lifelong love for learning with Apologia. Discover Apologia today at apologia.com. We are back with Cindy. Okay, I want to go back to what I had asked before the break, and I so agree with everything that you've said. I want to go back to the fighting thing. This may or may not be an issue sometimes in my house, where those kids, they want to do it their way, and maybe their way is right. And I'm learning, and I've learned sometimes I need to give up my will as the mom and say, okay, you know what? Even though your way isn't the way I would want it to be done, I'm going to let you do it that way.
Yeah. So we're talking academics, right?
We're talking academics. Yes.
Okay.
And, actually, and that could go with anything. I mean, it could be with, how to clean their room, how to make their bed, how to clean the bathroom, whatever. It just that tension that I think can arise sometimes in these years of them saying, I don't want to do it your way. I want to do it my way.
And that's completely normal.
Yeah.
So if you have a child who hasn't balked, that's probably a child that hasn't gone through a hormone change yet. Or you just got really lucky.
Yeah.
Because it's a normal part of the hormone change.
Sure.
So in academics, let's just look at that. And I think this will go, you could use this same example in anything, just change the scenario. I always tell my kids that there are certain things that I can't give on. So you are doing math every day.
Mm-hmm.
I will work with you to find a math program that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to switch in the middle of the year because we probably have already talked about this. I usually by middle school will sit down with the kids and say, I have 3 math programs I'm thinking about for you. I want you to do a sample lesson for each one and tell me which one fits you better.
Yeah.
So we probably have already talked about this, but I might say it's not negotiable. Math you're doing every day. And we worked together to figure this one out.
Yeah.
So you will either get it done now or you'll get it done tonight when everybody else is playing the family game or watching the family movie or whatever. So there's importance in holding your line.
Right.
And then sometimes you do have to say, okay, am I being silly about this? Just like you would with a toddler.
Mhm.
They want to go out in rain boots in the summer and it's not raining. Let them go out in rain boots. That's just not something to fight over.
Sure.
Well, you can think about that in academics too, especially in middle school when you have the balking.
Yeah.
And let's say they're arguing about math and you say, I can't budge on math, but I can budge somewhere else. So is there another subject that's frustrating right now?
Yeah.
And they might say, yeah, science. I'm just so tired of this textbook or whatever they say.
Yeah.
Okay. And you say, okay, that's not a problem. I do want you to understand the next 5 chapters that we have left this year in the textbook, but we can totally do those as unit studies instead. Or maybe we can do a unit study for this one. And then the next one, we can go grab an informational book from the library. And then the next one, I can let you watch some kind of documentary.
Yeah.
And then each time, rather than take the tests out of the book, I just need you to prove to me in some form or fashion that you actually understand what you learned.
Yeah.
So there is definitely giving on that. And so, they might balk and say, I don't like this science.
Right.
I don't even want to do those next 5 chapters. Okay, well, that's again where you get to determine, no, these 5 chapters are actually foundational and you must. I'm really sorry. I'm going to let you choose how you learn them, but they are foundational.
Right.
Or, you know what? These 5 chapters just aren't that important. What do you want to learn about?
Yeah.
Horses for the next month?
Okay.
That covers a lot of the things. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's propose a plan together. I get some of my way, you get some of your way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear another complaint about this study because you now have been part of making the decision.
Yeah.
So, that's the way I've handled that for 3 kids, and it's worked pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea. And it gives them so much ownership to be able to be part of the discussion and part of the decisions that are being made with their academics, because then they don't dread it as much. I know that there are lots of families who they want to use the exact same curriculum for every kid, for every grade. And maybe that works for some, but our kids are so different. They learn so differently. And so it's hard to put them in a box, which is part of the reason we homeschool, is so that they're not put in that classroom box, expected to learn like every other child learns in the classroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's the whole reason of homeschooling.
Right.
And if relationship trumps academics, if Christianity and raising our children in this world to be prepared for all the different types of relationships they'll have, there are going to be some that are frustrating. And, when we allow them to kind of push, give and take just a little bit with us.
Yeah.
I keep talking about muscles that we build in our brain. I actually don't look at that all the time as an arguing spirit.
Yeah.
I look at that as you are figuring out how to stand your ground on things and how to be in relationship with somebody where you're not yelling at me, but you're having a logical conversation about how you hate what you're doing right now.
Right. Yeah.
I just think it's all valuable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're such fun years. I love them so much.
Yeah.
I know there are so many other things we could talk about, but we just don't have time. We are out of time. I am so sorry. Oh, I wish we could just go and go and go. But if you guys want more information, like I mentioned before, Cindy has tons of resources on her website. One of them, tell us really quickly, you've got the Magical Marvelous Years of Homeschool, of middle school, your video training course. In a nutshell, tell us really quickly about that. What is that about?
For the most part, that class digs into the academics and how we can look at these years as something that's kind of magical and it doesn't have to be quite so serious.
Okay.
We do chat a little bit about a lot of the emotional kinds of needs that we've talked about here a lot. Okay. But for the most part, you're going to get more of the academic viewpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
In middle school.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, we'll put a link to that and everything else from Cindy in our show notes because she's got tons of great
awesome.
information, lots of great articles and blogs and stuff on her website. So you guys can check that out and be encouraged. Tell our audience one more time where they can find your website.
OurJourneyWestward.com.
All right. We'll put those links in the show notes. Cindy, thank you so much for being with us this week. It has been such a fun conversation. And I'm excited to move into yet another year, our last year of middle school. Oh, I know. It's so crazy. It goes by so quickly. Yes. It is exciting. This is going to be my first year of teaching only one child, which will be so weird because Lacey was born the year we started homeschooling Brooklyn. And so I've always had two, underfoot as I've been homeschooling. So this will be my first time with just one, and it's going to be a fun and exciting year. And I love working through all these things with my girls, all of the challenges of life, because no one else is going to do it like I am. We've said it a million times. No one else loves them like I love them. No one's going to take the time to develop their character and to train them and to talk with them through these hard times like we will as their parents, because we're their parents and God's given that ability, responsibility, and right for us to be able to do that. So,
and even through the challenging years, we turn around and those seem like a blip.
Yeah.
Because it all, as the big picture, is totally worth it.
Yes.
So don't give up.
Don't give up. I love that. That's the perfect way to end. Don't give up. Don't throw your kids in school because it's hard. Parenting is sometimes hard. Things that are worth doing are sometimes really hard. So just stick with it, pray through it, take a step back this summer and figure out how and if you need to regroup and maybe change directions with your homeschooling. Talk to some other moms, those who have gone before you, and try to figure out how to make it a little bit more palatable for you if you're struggling with it. But do not give up. The Lord will give you what you need to be able to get through these years with your middle schoolers. So thank you so much, Cindy, again, for being with us. And thank you guys for joining us for this series. This is so much fun. I love talking about homeschooling through the years. I hope it's been an encouragement to you. Again, you can find all things Schoolhouse Rocked at our website. If you would like to make a donation to help support our ministry, you can do that on our website as well. It could be a one-time donation or a monthly donation. Thank you so much to those of you who continue to support us financially, because we could not do what we do without that and without our sponsors. So we are so grateful for you. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you back here on Monday with another fantastic guest. Bye.
Laughing in the face of imposter syndrome and coming to you from the epicenter of manly overconfidence, I'm your host, Yvette Hampton, and you are listening to The Thinking Dad.
Even if we're able to push the evildoers and the totalitarians back for another generation, maybe if we work really hard, maybe even 2 generations, if they've got the young people, it's over.
I often think about Daniel's parents, who you don't hear anything about. But they must have laid down the foundation for Daniel to be able to go into Babylon and not fall.
We're in that very beginning part of the cycle for tough times. We've been fat and happy. We've been enjoying we're lazy because we enjoy so much freedom. We got all these blessings, and why would you go do the hard work? And so for a long time now, decades, we haven't had to do the hard work. We've been living on the fumes of previous generations paying the price. And we got to raise the bar and say, I'm willing to give more of my life, that's my time, more of my money, of course, that's our fortune, and more of my sacred honor, which is my reputation. I'm willing to put it all on the line. Every single one of us has to be willing to do that.
Join us for the first season of The Thinking Dad at thinkingdad.net.
Different family members and neighbors, nosy neighbors, of course, would ask, well, this homeschooling thing, it's cute and all when they're little, but you're not going to do this in high school, right? And actually, my answer to them for years was an emphatic no. I am not doing high school because I'm not smart enough. I'm not organized enough. I'm certainly not patient enough. I had trouble in high school. Yeah. So forget about being a high school teacher. What about the rest of us who barely got through chemistry and algebra ourselves, right?
Right.
But my kids and God had other plans. And so it was actually my kids who, when they got close to the 9th grade year, said, no, I want to keep homeschooling. This is a great gig. Why would I give this up? And so that's why we continued. And when I say, and this is one of my favorite things to tell moms, especially the ones who are so afraid, is that God comes alongside you. He is truly their teacher, right? Isaiah 54:13. It says that the Lord will be your children's teacher, and great shall be their peace. That was my mantra for the whole high school time. And he filled in the gaps. He filled in the holes. And it truly was, I truly feel like God saved the best of our homeschooling journey for last.